Okay, I want to finish up the I'm going to finish up the Chapter 9 review on nomenclature. So this will be number 29 through number 52. Okay. Compounds. Chromium 3 oxide. Chromium 3 is a plus 3, oxide's a negative 2. It's a 2 to 3 ratio, CR2O3. The answer is A. Which of the following is copper 1 chloride? Plus 1, copper 1, minus 1 chloride. It's a 1 to 1 ratio. CuCl. Which one can form more than one cation? Lithium's an alkali, it's always a plus 1. Barium's alkaline earth, plus 2. Strontium's alkaline earth, plus 2. Aluminum is always a plus 3. Tin can be a 2 or a 4, so it's multivalent. Like a transition metal, although tin's not a transition metal, it's in that range where it can have multiple charges too. So the answer is tin. Sn stands for stanium. Copper with phosphate, what's the formula? You have a plus 2, negative 3, so it's 3 calciums for every 2 phosphates. Ca3PO4 twice. The answer is E. Ammonium oxalate. I wouldn't give you one like this on the test. These are ions you have to pretty much memorize. Ammonium's a plus 1, oxalate's a 2, so it's a 2 to 1 ratio. And ammonium's NH4 and oxalate's C2O4. The answer is B. Name this: magnesium, Mg, and chlorate, ClO3, so magnesium chlorate. There's no reason to say any prefixes because it's ionic, and it's always in a fixed ratio. Which one is incorrect? Nitrite is NO2, negative 1. This should be magnesium nitride because it's not with oxygen, it's by itself, and that's what "ide" means. Aluminum carbonate, how many carbonate ions are there? Well, aluminum is a plus 3, carbonate's a negative 2 charge, so it's a 2 to 3 ratio. 2 to 3 makes 3 carbonates in that compound. Okay. All right. Molybdenum, Roman numeral 4, hypochlorite. Molybdenum 4 is a plus 4, minus 1, so it's a 1 to 4 ratio. MoClO4. MoClO4. B. Hydrates, compounds that contain water. I would name cobalt chloride. It's a plus 2 if I reverse the crisscross, 2 to 1. And then 6 waters would be hexahydrate. Cobalt, Roman numeral 2 chloride, hexahydrate is E. What's the correct name for the next one? Calcium, sulfate, and then dihydrate, D. The next one, they switched the lead and the acetate. If I look at it as lead 2 acetate trihydrate, you get a 2 to 1 ratio between the lead and the acetate, so it's Pb acetate, CH3COO twice, bonded to 3 waters. Okay, now why did they switch the acetate to the front? Well, acetate is CH3, COO. The lead actually connects to the acetate. It connects the 2 of them. And so they're putting the organic compound first and the metal second, because that's where the lead actually attaches. So they're going acetate twice to lead. It's a little odd. Magnesium dichromate. So magnesium chromate, check my site. Plus 2 minus 2 is a 1 to 1 ratio for magnesium chromate, MgCrO4. Pentahydrate, connected to 5 waters. Answer C. Molecular compounds. We're looking at metals, no metals, non-metal with a non-metal. They share electrons. They don't have a big difference in electronegativity. The reason that ionic compounds are salts or have metals in them is because they have a large difference in electronegativity, so they transfer electrons instead of sharing. They form ions, cations and anions. Now I have to use the prefixes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Mono, di, tri, tetra, 4. That's where tetris comes from. Penta, hexa, hepta, octa, nona, and deca. Now, we have to use prefixes because molecular compounds can form more than one ratio, where ionic compounds are fixed, and we don't have to use prefixes. So the first thing is mono is never used for the first element. So this is just called sulfur, and then monoxide. You have to put a mono for the second one, showing that it's with one oxygen. Okay. Carbon, tetra, chloride. Non-metal, non-metal. Okay. They're throwing your structure. It's 2 N's and 4 oxygens. So you got dinitrogen, tetroxide. All these, no metals. So you name them as molecules. Which one's incorrect? Less than happy with this. I normally would call CO carbon monoxide. The oxygen is a -2. The carbon is a +2. You actually are able to name it carbon Roman numeral 2 oxide, but that's not common. That's kind of an IUPAC thing that nobody uses. Everyone calls it carbon monoxide, but technically one is correct. Number 2 is definitely wrong. First of all, you would name the oxygen first, so it would be called, I'll write it down here, oxygen difluoride. Okay. So number 2 is definitely off the table. Number 3, they make it look like H3P, which makes it look like an acid. Actually, it's similar to ammonia, which is a base, and the H is on the right. So I just think they're writing it, either they're playing around or they're writing it wrong, but I would write it phosphorus trihydride. The P first, then the H. Only because it's a base. Okay, I wouldn't, this is not, any of this question would not be on the test at all. I would come up and technically say that only one is true. Okay. What's the formula of hydrochloric acid? It's a binary acid, which is just 2 things. So it's HCl, D. What's the name for NO2? Well, NO2 is nitrite, and when an ite becomes an acid, it becomes OUS, so it's nitrous acid. The us always implies you have less of whatever it is, less charge or less oxygens. In this case, it's less oxygens. Nitrite would be NO3, so I guess that's not on here. Okay, so that's nitrous. Ite becomes us, 8 becomes ic. So CO3 is carbonate, so that forms 8 becomes ic, carbonic acid, C. Okay, so 47A, 48C. 49, which one's incorrect? Hydrochloric acid is not HLO3, that would just be chloric acid, so B is incorrect. Okay, there's a nitric acid. Nitrates NO3, make it an acid, 8 becomes nitric acid. Alright, what's the formula for perchloric acid? It comes from perchlorate. Perchlorate, ClO4, -1, make it an acid, 8 becomes ic. Perchloric acid, add an H to it, HClO4, C. Organic nomenclature, the answer to 51 is B. Okay, you have butane means 4 carbons. So structurally, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. Carbon always bonds to 4 things. So first off, you're going to have 2 H's on every carbon. So as a formula for however how many carbons you have twice the hydrogens. Then if you have a long chain, there's always 2 at either end, so they add a +2 to that. So to find the formula, I go 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 is 10, C4H10. Same thing with octane. N is equal to 8, so the H's are 2 times N, 2 times 8, which is 16, plus 2, 18. If I draw out a string of hydrogens, you'd have the same effect. Formula CH18. Oct means 8, and I think that's the only one with 8 carbons, so either way it's A. Very good. That completes the review. And I'm going to look to test for this on Tuesday. It'll be a multiple choice test. Thanks.